the signs, mindset, and silent observation. Have you ever felt that quiet, heavy weight in your chest? The one you can't explain, yet you can't ignore? The sensation that gnaws at you late at night, whispering that something is wrong even when everything around you looks normal. Nothing dramatic has happened, at least nothing you can point to. He hasn't confessed anything, you haven't found concrete proof, yet somehow he feels different. He still sits across from you at dinner, smiling, making small talk like he always has. He still says, "I love you," with the same tone and cadence that once made your heart skip a beat. He still goes through the motions of your relationship, keeping appearances intact. But in the quiet moments, in the spaces between words, there's a subtle distance, a small invisible crack that wasn't there before. You look at him and feel like you're staring at a stranger wearing the face of the man you thought you knew, a man who once shared everything with you. Your gut whispers, something isn't right. Maybe he guards his phone more closely than ever. Maybe his schedule suddenly no longer adds up. Maybe little, seemingly insignificant questions trigger defensiveness where none existed before. And the hardest part? You want to dismiss it. You tell yourself it's just stress, work, or life throwing him off. You hope, you wish, you try to believe everything is normal. But deep down, that quiet voice in your chest is persistent. It knows the truth might be far more painful than you are ready to face. Here's the problem most women encounter in situations like this. Confronting him too early is a fatal mistake. Accuse him without undeniable proof, and he will deny everything. He will call you paranoid, insecure, dramatic. He may even twist the conversation, making you feel like the problem isn't him, it's you. Once he senses suspicion, he becomes hyper-aware. Every step he takes, every message he sends, every interaction is now meticulously calculated. Messages disappear, stories tighten. The truth burrows so deep beneath layers of lies that it becomes nearly impossible to find. Catching a cheating man isn't about anger or confrontation or forcing the truth out. It's about strategy. You need the truth, yes, but more importantly, you need patience, the kind of patience that allows you to quietly observe, gather, and confirm without tipping your hand. This is where silent observation comes in. And no, this isn't about spying. It's not about obsessing over every detail until you're driven mad. It's about calmly, strategically watching patterns that most people miss. Cheating men leave trails, almost always. They believe they're clever, untouchable, even untied by the consequences of their actions. But human behavior is predictable. Their actions, their routines, the little tells, they all follow patterns, whether they realize it or not. Once you understand the psychology behind a secret affair, uncovering the truth becomes much simpler. We're not hunting for vague, inconclusive clues that might mean nothing. We're building a complete picture. Every detail matters. Every anomaly contributes to the full story. The goal is to gather information quietly, without alerting him, so that when the truth finally emerges, there is no room for excuses, manipulation, or gaslighting. And here is the fatal mistake almost everyone makes: reacting too fast. You notice a late-night text, a strange new name appears on his phone, an unexpected work meeting pops up that doesn't make sense, and before taking a breath, you confront him. Who is she? Why were you texting her at midnight? Where were you last night? In that instant, you hand him something invaluable, a warning. You've revealed your suspicion. You've made it clear that you are watching. From that moment forward, every trace of the truth becomes harder to detect. A man who cheats while feeling safe is careless. He will slip, he will make mistakes, and those mistakes can become your proof. But a man who cheats while feeling watched becomes a master of concealment. Every text is deleted, every lie is rehearsed, and every trace of evidence is hidden in plain sight. So, rule number 1 is simple. Change nothing. Keep calling when you normally call. Ask about his day just like always. Trust him exactly as you have been. Keep your tone, your actions, your routine identical to before. Because comfort breeds carelessness. Carelessness reveals everything. And when the time is right, that carelessness will provide you with the undeniable proof you need, without him ever realizing he's being observed.
Patterns, documentation, and early mistakes. Let me tell you a story. A woman we'll call Amanda had been married to Daniel for 8 years. For most of that time, their life was comfortable, stable, and predictable. They had routines, habits, and patterns that felt safe, until, slowly, subtle changes began to creep in. At first, they were almost imperceptible. Daniel started coming home late, just a little at first, 30 minutes, an hour, but over time it became a habit. 3 nights a week, Daniel was suddenly unavailable. Whenever Amanda asked, he always had an explanation. Traffic, a late project at work, helping a coworker with a problem. Nothing concrete, nothing that could be proven wrong. Each excuse was plausible, delivered with enough casual confidence to avoid suspicion. And yet, Amanda's intuition screamed that something wasn't right. Then she noticed something else. Daniel had become extremely protective of his phone. Where it used to sit casually on the kitchen counter or in his bag, now it never left his pocket. He even started taking it into the bathroom. Small, seemingly insignificant actions, but to Amanda, they were glaring warning signs. One night, Amanda's emotions got the better of her. While Daniel was in the shower, she grabbed his phone, her heart pounding in her chest, her hands trembling. She scrolled, searching for any hint, any confirmation that her gut had been right. And then Daniel walked back in, completely unexpected. In that instant, everything shifted. From that moment on, Daniel's phone had a password she didn't know. Notifications were turned off, messages were deleted. Any trace of his digital activity that had once been visible was now hidden. Daniel didn't stop cheating, he simply became far more careful. Every text, every call, every interaction was now deliberate, rehearsed, and concealed. Amanda realized her early action had alerted him, and the path to uncovering the truth had just become much harder. Here's the lesson. Patience is your most powerful weapon. Catching a cheater isn't about reacting to a single suspicious moment. It's about understanding the full pattern of behavior over time. Cheating doesn't happen randomly. It follows schedules. Calls happen at certain times, meetings happen in the same locations, excuses repeat in a way that becomes predictable once you know what to look for. Your job is to quietly observe without tipping your hand. Notice when his phone suddenly becomes more important than the conversation you're having. Pay attention to sudden work obligations that don't add up. Watch for subtle behavioral shifts that don't match the explanations he's giving. And here's the most critical step. Document everything. Write down dates, times, and locations. Note patterns, inconsistencies, and irregularities, but do it without reacting, without showing suspicion, because once a clear pattern emerges, the truth almost reveals itself. When the moment comes to confront him, you won't be relying on gut feelings or assumptions. You'll have undeniable evidence in your hands. The key difference between failure and success lies in control. Men who cheat will expose themselves when they feel safe, careless in moments they believe no one is watching, but the instant they sense suspicion, they become meticulous, methodical, and extremely careful. Your advantage comes from staying calm, observing, and waiting for the right moment. You must be patient, silent, and precise. When you do, the truth will become visible, not because he slipped up once, but because patterns don't lie.
Gathering evidence and the red-handed confrontation. Once you've identified patterns in his behavior, the next step is strategic documentation. Observation alone is not enough. You need a system to quietly gather evidence without tipping him off. This is where technology becomes your ally. Start with his phone, but focus on behavior, not content. You're not reading messages, at least not yet. Instead, look for unusual texting frequency. Who is he messaging repeatedly? At what times? Is there a pattern to when his phone suddenly becomes more important than the conversation with you? Next, consider location tracking. Many phones, apps, or car systems leave digital footprints. Shared GPS apps, location history, or even subtle patterns in his movements can provide critical insight into where he goes and when. Combine this with careful observation of his phone usage, battery drain, frequently used apps, and sudden periods where he disappears from sight. Each small detail contributes to the bigger picture. Collect all evidence quietly and carefully. Screenshots, logs, photos, everything should be hidden, organized, and documented. Do not send them to yourself via email or messaging apps where he could see them. Keep a private, secure folder. The goal is a record of facts, not accusations. Once you've gathered your technological evidence, observe without confrontation. If he says he's going to a work meeting, don't immediately call, follow, or question him. Instead, verify indirectly. A trusted friend can discreetly observe locations. GPS tracking, legally and safely, can confirm where he really goes. Subtle surveillance, watching routines, noticing vehicles, arrivals at unusual places, can provide confirmation without triggering suspicion. Let's look at an example. A man we'll call Chris noticed his wife's behavior shifting. She claimed exhaustion, but suddenly spent hours at the gym. Instead of reacting, panicking, or confronting her, Chris used patience as his weapon. He installed a small voice-activated recorder in her car, tiny, unobtrusive, and impossible for her to notice. Days later, the recording revealed conversations that confirmed the affair. Chris didn't yell, he didn't beg, he didn't waste energy arguing over vague suspicions. He simply held the truth in his hands. With that evidence, he moved money into separate accounts, secured a lawyer, and prepared his next steps carefully. When he finally confronted her, there was no argument, no confusion, and no lies left to manipulate the situation.
Chris succeeded because he mastered control, patience, and evidence-based action. He didn't let emotions dictate his decisions. He allowed the truth to build a case so airtight that there was no room for manipulation. The final rule is simple. Stay calm, gather undeniable proof, confront only when the evidence is airtight. Remember, this process isn't about hurting him. It's about protecting yourself, reclaiming control, and preserving your dignity. Cheating men will try to deflect blame. They may cry, manipulate, or twist the truth. Ignore it. The evidence doesn't lie. Your peace, dignity, and freedom come first. Once you catch him red-handed, it's over. You've seen the truth, you've preserved your self-respect, and most importantly, you no longer have to live in doubt, second-guessing his actions or questioning your own instincts. The truth sets you free.